Good afternoon, everyone. It's our immense pleasure to have with us Dr. Jitendra Sundari. Sir is Principal Scientist, ICR Central Institute of Freshwater Aquaculture, Bhubaneswar. And the topic chosen for deliberation today is species and system diversification for aquaculture production enhancements. Sir, you are audible. Please turn on your microphone as well as camera. And let's switch to the presentation so that the presentations are also visible. Yeah, let's switch to PPT. Yeah. No, no, just go to PPT. No, 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 don't stop. Just go to PPT. Yeah, start the slideshow and press the hide option at the bottom. Go to the PPT. Yeah. Can you go to the PPT? Yes. Start the slideshow. Yeah. Perfect. You can start, sir. You are audible as well as visible, and we have started recording the session as well. Please start.
Okay, very good afternoon to all of you. Thanks to NADCL for giving me this opportunity along with West Bengal University of Fisheries and Animal Science. And hopefully you all are safe and due to this COVID. And let's have a small discussion about the topic on species and system diversification. Okay. This is a very normal slide. If you have money with you, what are you going to do? Let me try to make you understand why you do need a diversification. So if you're having money, you start putting money in the gold, you put money in the investment, and you have some obligation social commitment, other things. So this is overall when you are not satisfied with one particular commodity or which is looking for earning or the protein supplement. So we look for the diversification. So what is diversification? Diversification consists of expanding the range of business activities. So here takes the example of aquaculture, carried out by a farm or individual away from the present product line and market structure. See, if we look into freshwater aquaculture, almost we are synonym with rohu, katlam, regal, and some sorts of exotic carps. And if we look into brackish water aquaculture, it is more about monodon. Earlier it is a monodon, now it is Lithopenes vanamai. And if we look into mariculture concept, it's more recently about the cobia, pompano, and groupers, right? So this is where you need to have a diversification. We look for a different market strategy or to popularize some or another product. So diversification involves search and selection of a new business area, like we are looking into different habitat aquaculture, and formulation and implementation of an entry strategy. Take the example, PACU, you all might be knowing, PACU is yet to be recognized by Government of India. But PACU, since it has come with all package of practices, PACU is already established in all aquaculture system. So, they never had a PACU needed to have any strategy. But take the example of a new species, anything you take new species like morel or anabas, we need to have a clear-cut strategy for the diversification. Okay. So let me talk. This is what this particular photo talks about a fish with roots, leaf, and the fruits. Right. This is a typical example of agro horti and agri horti and a fish integrated farming system. Okay. So my presentation outline will be aquaculture starters and the constraints in aquaculture and the diversification motive. Why we should go for the diversification? What is species diversification? What is system diversification? And what action need to be you need to have in a place where you can have a sustainable increase in aquaculture production. So right side, building, it's a typical SIPA main building. And okay, Dr. Nathit, is it interactive or anybody can put me question or shall I continue like this? Is it interactive? Can I ask you question to the participants? Hello?
Yes,
Hello?
sir.
Okay. Okay.
Sorry.
Okay. So this is a question to all the participants. Education or training? Art National Agriculture Development Cooperative Limited NADCL holds the key for what? Can anybody tell why you have chosen to NSDCL this particular training program? Because you have been listening the training program since 18th of May. Why? What has made you to be part of this? Anybody can answer? Yeah, please go ahead. Anyone? Okay. So this is like, what we call it's a management principle.
Can I answer?
Yeah, please.
Sir, actually the framework.
Hello. Okay, the answer is like, this is a change. And if you look into the Trishul principle, the key arm of the Trishul, will, action, knowledge, right? You had interest to join this program, and this NADCL people are becoming like, they're making you to act like they call me, they call somebody else. And finally, at the end of this training program, you get knowledge, right? So you can utilize this particular principle or any sphere of your life. So first is will, action, knowledge, right? So we value the relationship with West Bengal University of Fisheries Science. We need seeking collaboration, and ICAR SIFA will further help in handholding. This is because I have bought the platform to with the West Bengal University Annual Fisheries Science. I am talking about them. Anybody can join with ICAR SIFA to continue the training program. A little bit of the SIFA, like, we are working on the basic and strategic research in the freshwater aquaculture. And our second mandate is species and system diversification, which I am going to talk, and the human resource development through training, education, and extension, right? So the vision mission is making ICAR SIFA's technologies global competitive and excellence in research for developing sustainable and diversified freshwater aquaculture practices for enhanced productivity, quality, water use efficiency, and farming income. So we have actually we were 5 regional centers. Now we are in 4. One is at Punjab, Batinda, another is in Bangalore, and another one is in Rahara, West Bengal, and one is Vijayawada. So these regional centers, they look into the regional specific demand of the aquaculture. Like, Batinda, we look into intensive carp-based aquaculture. Bangalore, it is more about the peninsular aquaculture, pulches, right? And this is Rahara Center of West Bengal, mostly in integrated aquaculture. Our Rahara Center takes care of most of the integrated aquaculture activities in Northeast Hill region states. And feed-based of Vijayawada, like, Andhra Pradesh become the epicenter for aquaculture development as well the fresh and brackish water aquaculture. So we take care of the feed-based aquaculture. And in brief, like, we are at present around 34 institute project, 41 external funded project. So we have 5 international collaborative project with the World Fish, with IPRE, this Norway Research Council. Then we have with the Penang, then Indo-UK collaboration. So we have got 8 patents and 11 patents filed. All total 19, even though we have 33 technologies, already 19 technology has been commercialized. Of course, we deals around 7,000 farmers across the SIFA, into the regional center, but because of COVID-19, the farmers' footfall are less. But what we are doing, we are reaching to our farmer, other clients in virtual medium. We have a digital outreach center, and last August we conducted a stakeholder consultation. Almost we could reach around 60-70,000 people over the our digital outreach. Okay, you all might be knowing about sustainable development goals, right? So if you look in the aquaculture system, our priorities, we should have a mandate or system that we should not see any poverty, right? So we should have work for no poverty, zero hunger. So aquaculture can be very well be a system which can provide a zero hunger. Then, life below water. This is more important sustainable development goal on the United Nations. Then another is climate action. You all might be knowing, recently, yes, it has completely devastated the aquaculture system in Orissa and West Bengal, all coastal districts. Fishes are dying, like, the situations are really bad actually, whether it's a coastal aquaculture or the freshwater aquaculture, right? And if you look into aquaculture and economic growth, why aquaculture has been important? Aquaculture is such a commodity-based farming system. You look into the value chain. You need seed, you need feed. So once you have a feed stock, you should have a feed mill. Who is going to utilize this one? You have a farmer. Then to carry those things, you need a transporter. So once fishes have been grown, you need a retailer who can trade the fish, finally the consumer. So, look into the stakeholders. You have a hatchery operator, you have those are preparing aqua feed, those are producing fish, those are trading the fish, and and then those are involved the transport and access to affordable fish. This is what the value chain talks about wider economy and other beneficiaries of aquaculture. So I think by this time you might be understanding the importance of aquaculture. Why should you go for aquaculture? If you look into climate risks, that's how I talked about earlier cases. If you look into because I have spent my sufficient time in Sundarban, I have seen 2009 Bulbul, Ayla. Then we have a Pile in 2013. Then Phani in 2018 in Bhubaneswar. 2019, right? And recently Yas and Taukete in the west coast. So this is, somehow the climate or our own attitude has yielded this all type of disaster or catastrophic activity. If you look into left side figure, India's score is around 18.17. This is fifth country is most affected. If you can look into the red zone. And if you look at the global hunger index, out of 107 nations, we are 94 ranked. So this is not good, right? So there are a lot of issues are there. And if you look into how India eats, if you look into this figure, all these red circles are non-vegetarians, green circles are vegetarian. But when I talk about non-vegetarian, it includes the protein from the other animal origin also, this is other animal origin. This is not indicative of the fish only. But you can look into the trend of Indian population consumption pattern, right? Except a few states in the west coast, the red circles are more actually. So what I mean to say here, there is a need and you need a requirement of animal protein. So the animal protein, the only safe, purest form of animal protein can be available from the fish or crustaceans or the shrimps, okay? Look into the consumption protein from the fish. Look into that. We are in a 10 to 20% range of the population. If we look into other countries there are more than 30, 20. We look into Sri Lanka, just below India, Sri Lanka, their consumption pattern is more than 30% of the total consumption of the animal proteins, right? So there is a scope because if you see the previous graph, there is a need for the Indians look for non-vegetarians. And if you look into that, there is a high possibility of to make this light green to deeper green. Let's think about the nutrition value of the different meat products. Look into the salmon. It's a farm salmon. You have this EPA and DHA. These all essential fatty acids salmon farm, salmon wild, carp 350, tilapia, chicken and beef. You compare to the other animal origin protein, the fishes have a higher range of two different type of fatty acids, which gives edge over other animal origin proteins. Okay, what are the motives of diversification? Why should you go for diversification? So we need protein to food. So what happened? The risks of single business. Take the example of monoculture or single species culture. Strategies are more severe for the management than for shareholders or public traded farms. Diversification may be motivated by management's desire to reduce the risks. Because if you go for monoculture, you have a possibility of losing the crop. Take the example of the Lithopinius vannamei, early mortality syndrome. Look into the monotone, earlier case white spot syndrome, right? Even look into the example of tilapia lake virus, which is creating havoc in Indonesia and Singapore, Malaysia and Thailand, right? So these are the risks of going for monoculture. Then diversification only makes sense when it enhances the shareholder value. So you can't simply go for diversification unless there is a demand in the market, right? So you think, because I could see there are a lot of faculties from the fisheries college, many are from CIP, different classes, at least some of the known familiar faces are there. Look, and if you go back, to 90s when I was working in a private company, this is more Rohu, Katla, Mrigal, and is more Monodon. Look into the commodity varieties in Indian aquaculture market. You have African catfish, which is banned already, but still in the market. You have a pangas, you have a pacu, you have a pompana, you have a cobia. In case of brackish water, you have a milkfish now. You have a Scatophagus argus, you have Heteroplus suratens. What has happened? The Indian scientists or researcher, farmer have realized the importance of the diversification, right? And why? Look into that. The global population will reach by 9 billion by 2050. And you might be knowing, because since many people might have talked to regarding the production data, I am not mentioning here, because there is a stagnation in case of the marine production now. Only exponential growth is there in case of aquaculture. So you need to look into aquaculture to have a maximum. So in order to supply the abundant nutrition to meet the requirement of this huge population, the overwhelming potential of aquatic resources is to be certain, in which aquaculture plays an enormous role. So when you talk about aquaculture, you can think about freshwater, brackish water, mariculture, even some sorts of hill fisheries. But my presentation will be focused mostly on the freshwater aquaculture. Okay, this is like a little bit about aquaculture production, what is coming out of this is from Sofia. Farmed finfish around 54.1 million tons. This is world figure. Aquatic plants is 30.1 million tons. Mollusks 17.1. Crustaceans 17.9. And other aquatic animals around 9,30,000. Okay, non-fruit products are 37 tons. So this is what global scenario of aquaculture production. If you come to Indian context, 2014 to 19, look into the growth rate of Indian aquaculture. Average annual growth is more than 10%. It's unimaginable compared to the poultry sector or the except milk, right? Except milk, the growth is quite big. And our average annual is around 7.5. And our annual growth rate for fisheries in aqua export value is 9.71%. So if you look into, we are almost close to 8% of the global share of fish production. Second largest aquaculture producer. But second means, it doesn't mean that we are really second. Actually, it has a lot of huge gap between China and us, right? So Indonesia, Bangladesh also coming close to us. And we, of course, we are the fourth largest seafood exporter. If you look at 18-19, we have almost 13.7 million metric ton of the production. But if you look into what is the requirement, this is 2025 to 22 million metric ton, 2030 25 million metric ton. If you want to give a people around 10 to 15 kilo, 10 to 13 kilo of per capita consumption as per on this particular thing, but who and everybody has suggested, I think it is around 31 kilo fish consumption has to be there. But we are looking at a moderate range, at least if we are looking at 12 to 13 or 15 kilo, these are the requirement you need. So what are the major constraints of aquaculture production actually? Slow growth, you might be knowing. Many people are here, you might be knowing why slow growth is there. Because we don't have a improved variety, right? Of course, we have, I'll come to that, but question is most of our aquaculture with the traditional varieties. You have a disease outbreak, right? There are many instances are there where farmers are losing crop. There's a tilapia lake virus, systematic monodon, SCMBB, slow growth disease in case of the Vanamai, or white spot disease in case of monodon, right? Feed cost, everybody, all of you might have studied the feed cost is consumed around 60% of the total capital investment in aquaculture, right? Then inbreeding, because since we are not taking care of the genetic principle, inbreeding is there, and inbreeding is one of the reasons for the slow growth. And management practices. Look, I know a few people might be from the brackish water sector actually. If you take a comparative analogy between brackish water aquaculture and freshwater aquaculture, you have a difference of maximum difference. See, if you look into the brackish water aquaculture, highly systematized. You have a proper nursery pond preparation, you have a pond preparation, you have an automated feeder, you have an aerator, you have a good quality. I am taking about the Vanamai or monodon, everything. You have a full-fledged technicians. What happens in the freshwater aquaculture? Spawn is ready, farmer comes, take the spawn, put it in any pond. The pond is just not reclaimed for last Most of the community ponds in anywhere, whether it's West Bengal or in Tamil Nadu or in Andhra Pradesh, community ponds are never been reclaimed. So how do you expect a good growth in that? Only if you want to see some scientific culture, you should visit Chhattisgarh. Chhattisgarh is the one state which has adopted scientific farming in a proper manner. Next, Bihar is coming. Of course, now new age entrepreneur, whether it's West Bengal or Odisha or Tamil Nadu. So you have a freshwater farmers are freshwater farming is being very systematized now, not like earlier cases. But if you look into Yelluru, Kaikeluru, Gadapavaram area in the Andhra Pradesh, you will see a different type of farming system. Very few farmers they use the feed. Mostly it is a de-oiled rice bran, right? So you can see the difference between two practices actually. Then the climate change. Already we have discussed about different factors: sea surface temperature rise, and male becoming female, female becoming male because of a lot of anthropogenic chemicals getting into the system. And the point is microplastics, pesticides. Microplastic is creating havoc in case of all you might have seen the report from the NIOT or even from the Indian Ocean Institute in the Anand Basit, Chennai. Right? This microplastic and if the microplastics and pesticides combined, it is one of the dangerous contaminants as far the aquatic life is concerned. Right? So management practices climb. These are the major constraints I am highlighting for the aquaculture production. And if you look into the right side image, aquaculture with the crossroad of the global warming and the antimicrobial resistance. Look into that. I think all you might be knowing colistin on the last mile antibiotic, which is used in case of poultry. Right? So India across the globe also suffering from the antimicrobial resistance. What are the way forward? How to go for enhancing your aquaculture production? One is diversification, one is species and system, which we will be talking in detail. Genetics, genomics, cost-effective food formulation, proactive health management. Number 2, number 3, number 4. I'm not going to talk, but I'm sure many of the other faculties might have taught or made a presentation. I will be only focusing on the diversification, species and system. Okay. So this is what if you look into this particular slide, this is what ICAR SIFA has been working for the species diversification. You have a high value species like Clarius magur, Pabda, Bimaculatus, Pangasius, then Hypogramus, Blackisoma, Pangasiatum, Hypothalamus, Mistus vittatus, Rita, Channa striatus, Anabas, Channa moduleus. Then you have a Macrobacter malcolmsoni and Rosenberg. Of course, you have a Lamentalis marginalis, which is used for the pole formation. And the carps, all variety of carps, Grohu, Catlam, Regal, minor carps. Then you have a high value ornamental fish. So this is what we are looking into in case of a species diversification as far as the SIFA is concerned. And if you look into the brachysaur, they have an ample number of brachysaur. Already have told you milkfish, Cataphagus, Erythroplex suratensis. Then in case of a sea bass, then now recently SIFA has come with a snapper. And if you go to the mariculture canvas, starting from cobia, pompano, grouper, then this other so many varieties of mariculture species is being looked into diversification. Apart from this, Indian aquaculture is being these are the species, and this is what importance of species what diversification SIFA is looking at. And apart from the above species, that is all indigenous, but you have few exotic species which is dominating Indian aquaculture. Silver crab, common carp, tilapia, then pacu, African magur, fungus. So these are fish because pacu is not yet approved by the government of India. African magur is banned in India, but even then the farming is going on. So now you could see the number of species in case of the freshwater, and I talked about brachysaur, and you look into at least the 9 species of exotic species which is dominating Indian aquaculture. Right? So as I talked about species diversification, when you go for a species diversification, what is the prime requirement for you? You need a good quality seed. Right? So what we could frame out how to get a good quality seed. Right? So this is what the framework, what we have designed. You need to have a good broodstock, and of course you should have a good broodstock diet. Like, we have a SIPA brood, then SIBA is having hetero brood for heteroploids. Then you need to have a pond environment and feed. Already I discussed. If you see, there is a distinct demarcation or distinct difference between pond environment of brackish and fresh and marine. We don't give much importance to the freshwater spawn rearing. Average survival of the freshwater from spawn to fry is hardly 20 to 25%. But if you look into brackish water, we get 75 to 80%. Right? Genetic quality or good stock. Right? So this is what you require. You need to have a pedigree, at least you need to have a genetic integrity of the species, any species, whether irrespective of the sector, brackish, fresh and marine. In breeding method, you should have a proper breeding method. Not like, you take the example of the stunting brooders in case of Andhra Pradesh. Once you start stunting them, the fish get matured at even 800, 900 grams. But if you go on going to give injection, you are not going to good quality spawn out of that. So you should have a adequate, you should have a breeding principle, you should have a adequate brooder which can help you to give a good quality egg. Nursery rearing. Repeatedly I am telling you actually. Because most of the participants, if you look, just once after this presentation is over, think back, introspect how much importance you are giving for the freshwater nursery, how much importance you learn when you are a student for the brackish-water nursery. So this is where the difference comes in. If you have a proper nursery and this 5 framework, and you are through for the better quality input. Coming back, species. See, we have been having an issue of slow growth in breeding. So SIPA started working since 97, 96, 97, and they could get this improved variety Jayanti Rohu. The particular fish has been really dominating in Indian aquaculture. Now, many of the farmers are accepting this particular for the grow out species. So it can be go very well with the polyculture system. So at the end of 11th generation, you all might be knowing about what generation comes in, right? So you have a 18% genetic gain per generation. It means if one rohu, normal rohu grows 100 gram in a particular period, this rohu grows in that particular period of 118 grams. So you can see the Jayanti rohu and normal rohu, the photographs. This is from a typical in a SIPA farm. So what is the benefit of this Jayanti rohu? Reduction in the rearing period, 17.4% if you compare to normal rohu. Increasing the L, 23.6%. Right? A relative reduction in the cost over local stock. Because since you are reducing your culture period, automatically the cost of production in case of Jayanti rohu is less. And the right picture, what you are seeing, this is Jayanti rohu grown in the low saline aquaculture system in West Bengal. You won't believe it actually. We did one small experiment. Jayanti rohu grown in the same stock, same family, nursery reared in the Bhubaneswar and nursery reared in case of West Bengal. You won't believe it, at the end of 3 months, we could get 85% survival in case of West Bengal low saline system, whereas we could get around 25%, 25 to 35% in case of freshwater. So it means that the fish can easily adapt to a salinity of 6 to 8 ppt. And the best part was the Jayanti rohu could able to accommodate, adjust or acclimatize to take a brackish water zoo and phytoplankton compared to the fresh. So these are the few research issues many people can take up this, right? Then coming to Katla, the next phase. So this work we have taken under our Center of Excellence from the DBT project, where I am leading this project actually. So at the end of second generation, we have got a 15% genetic gain. But I will tell you, for your otters, it might be a surprise for you. If you compare with the rohu, amur carp and Katla growing is much faster than these two Jayanti rohu and amur carp, right? So this is the same genetic principle what we used for developing Jayanti rohu. The same thing we are working on this. Because since it's a general lecture, I am not going to get into the how did you do the selective selection program. If you have anybody is having some question on that, you can ask me later. Then comes about of course I just talked about species, 2 species mostly. But as earlier I mentioned, we have been working on many minor carps, then morels, then anabas, then catfishes, then we have Pabda in West Bengal, right? And we have this Pulchalus peninsular carps in case of Karnataka, right? So these are the major species we are working on the diversification system, because those diversifications are low scale. So I don't want to go into detailed discussion to reduce the to save the time. But the point is, the species which I discuss in case of the freshwater aquaculture, which is a food piece or ornamental piece, having a scope for the diversification, right? So let's come to talk about the system diversification. One is open culture, like bivalve culture, pen culture, cage culture, semi-enclosed culture system, pond culture, raceways, closed culture, RS, biofloc, all might, because I could see that you have a lot of presentation in the biofloc. Then hybrid system, integrated farming system, aquaponics, in-pond raceways, aqua geoponics. This is a new terminology started in late 2008 in Bangladesh, and aqua silviculture, right? Come to the aquaponics. Aquaponics involves the integration of aquaculture and hydroponics, right? So what are the working principles? Recirculating system are designed to raise large quantities of fish in relatively small volumes of water by treating the water to remove toxic waste product and the reusing. I think anybody, I think PNFU is having a aquaponic system, and some of the other fisheries colleges started doing this actually. So this is a soil-less, effortless, and completely revolutionary. And if you know, during this particular corona period, many entrepreneurs are getting into aquaponics on the rooftops. Okay, so what happens actually? Fish produces waste that is filled with ammonia and harmful waste, right? So what happens? The microbes, worms. What happens? The microbes and worms break down in the fish waste and convert into nitrate, which is fertilizer for the plants. So plants grown in that, and plants absorb and filter nutrient enriched water, which is then returned to the clean back to the fish tank. So this is a one source of a recirculation among that system. So what happens? Water, waste, and heat, right? Then coming to aquaponics, that is nutrient film technologies, right? So this is I get this information from hydronews.com from Australia. So nutrient film technique is a thin layer of nutrient-rich water is circulated through horizontal pipes. Plants are within the net pots that are suspended with the holes at the top of the pipe so that roots are contact with the water. The water supplies nutrients to the plant that then develop extensive root system within the pipes. The plant stems and leaves then grow out from and around the pipes. We do have the aquaponics within SIFA, and we have been growing anabas, and we are going marigold, we are going spinach. So there are a lot of good experiment has been conducted in SIFA. Biofloc, no need to talk much about the biofloc, everybody is doing. And biofloc concept has come from Israel, and biofloc has been more popular in case of the coastal aquaculture. Because earlier when we were working in the private company, we never had a concept of nursery rearing in case of monodon. So what has happened now? Now everybody is doing nursery rearing, high density nursery rearing. You won't believe it if you go to Surat. One farmer, entrepreneur is there, one of my batch, and Dr. Manoj Sharma is having the largest facility to biofloc based nursery system in West Coast. And there are so many in Nellore and other area. Because what happens, it gives additional advantage. When you grow high stocking density biofloc system and then release them into growth, you get a early growth. The concept is very simple. From the feed, it's more about the manipulating the carbon nitrogen ratio. Okay, so you get a microbial protein. So on that basis, fish grow. And sometimes an exclusive biofloc is there. Even some farmers are adding some additional feed into that actually. So biofloc is a conglomerate aggregation of microbial components such as phyto, bacteria, and living and dead particular organic matter. Biofloc technology involves manipulation of carbon nitrogen ratio to convert toxic nitrogen waste into the useful microbial protein and helps in improving water quality under a zero water exchange system, right? So you can easily see papers by Saini Anand and Sundar Rai. We have more than 5 to 6 papers on biofloc when we were working at Kakadip. And one of our paper has got more than 146 citations actually. So please look into that, like, that we did it in the in case of Venus monodon actually. You can look into those papers. Another is integrated multi-trophic aquaculture. This is quite like, famous and a well adapted technique in case of this Chinese system. So integrated multi-trophic aquaculture is one approach to mitigate ecological effects of finfish, mariculture and its benefit are from prompting increased interest among the researcher and commercial growers worldwide. So what has happened, looking into that, our SIPA Kakadip Center, they have developed a integrated multi-trophic aquaculture with particular reference to brackish water system, right? So what we are doing it more about the FIMTA, freshwater integrated multi-trophic aquaculture. So we are utilizing all leakage with the freshwater composition, like, the species can be grown in the freshwater ecosystem. So this is a, like, working principle. What happened, like integrated multi-trophic feed aquaculture, you go finfish, then suspension extractive aquaculture, that is organic shellfish, then inorganic seaweed, you can grow the seaweeds. So what happened, in particular system, you can grow in finfish, you are going sea cucumber, you are going seaweeds, you are going like, other, like, mussels also, right? So this is what, like, this is picking up in India in a few of the research scale, commercial scale is yet to be done. And again is coming a recirculator aquaculture system. If anybody has visited SIPA or SIBA or CMFRA Mandapam, CMFRA Mandapam is having one of the best, most advanced RS system. But when I was in SIPA Chennai, we are the first people to have a RS facilities for the SIBA seed production. So our RS facilities was developed with a collaboration with IFREMER, that is France, right? So now also in SIPA, we are like, one of our colleague, Dr. Rajesh Kumar, he's having a RS facilities for like, developing the broodstock and the seed production of the marine. So now RSs are coming. So that is the need of the hour, because now water becoming very difficult to get a clear water. So this is what, like, RSS looks into this. So if you look into what is the working principle of RS system, so what is the point is, like, sloughs, sloughs removal, solid removals, right? So once what has happened, when the fish grown in that, fish waste is on it in food, it is like, removed with a mechanical filter. Like, if you, we had a concept of biopond management in 94 when the first white spot came actually. When I was working in Balasore, we had a, like, what we call biopond management. We never use outside water for the entire culture duration, 120 days Venus monodon farming system. So what we used to do, we used to take out our water, put it in a physical barrier pond. Once the solid settle, then from gravitation we take the supernatant water. That water goes to a biopond. Biopond means there's mostly gracilaria and the mussel and some of the salinity grown tilapia. So once they consume that water, again you pump into the reservoir. From reservoir, after chlorination, we used to take that water for the monodon farming. So we are the first in India. That time we had developed 94 when the first white spot disease came. Almost this is that is more in an earthen pond system. This is a like an indoor system. So what have you have a fish tank, you have a mechanical filtration, then you can remove waste water, then from water, then you take the pump. Again with the biological filtration, what I talked about, you can use tilapia, you can use mussels, you can use seaweeds to remove all this obnoxious gas solid. Then you can take that water again. Then this is what a new system has come in the Bangladesh, integrated floating cage aqua geoponics system. IPCAS. This is, I was not having this idea. This is one of our PhD scholar, Ramzanul Haq. He brought out this paper and, this contribution from his side actually. So aqua geoponics is a new version of traditional aquaponics where soil is used as a medium instead of conventional media such as hydrotone, pebbles and sponges. Right. So let's so the farming technique, we use water from aquaculture to grow crops or vegetable while it purifies water for fish in the cage or pond. So if you look into the structure, you can easily understand actually. So this is a small net cages. Okay, the cage is fixed. Within the cage, your fishes are growing. Over that, the plastic the bar where you have this cage is being held by the plastic floats. So over that, like, you are going the vegetable pit, like what we used to do in the aquaponics, right? And this, this creepers, this type you can grow the creepers plant which can grow on, over this net cages. So this is what, like, they call it aqua geoponic system. It's a very good paper. You can look into that. So Bangladesh, started using. India, it is yet to be done. But some parts of like West Bengal, even Tripura, they have a peripheral dive cropping along with the pond system, but not in the cage system, right? Then aqua silviculture, right? So this is like, what has happened, like, declining of fish catch, and what happens, they have integrated, like, mangrove plantation and crab hatchery. This is a typical example from, like, Philippines, Malaysia, but now Indonesia is quite doing this, is because Indonesia is the first country to again venturing into monodal farming system. So with this is aqua silviculture is part of that. So this is a management strategy that combines and harmonizes fish production and mangrove development. The strategy has become a favorable livelihood opportunity to sustainably augment the fishers' income and at the same time reforest the mangroves. Take the example either say, like, Pichavara mangroves or Bhitarkanika mangroves or Sundarban mangroves. I think those who are belongs to West Bengal or they have been Sundarban, you can see the damage by the different people, the shrimp growers and even the brick clean. I have seen in Sundarban the damage. So we need to restore the mangroves and have a combination of aquaculture silviculture by which you can look for a sustainable development. This is aqua mimicry. I think, this is all of might be Dr. Salim from IIT. He has been conducting many programs on aqua mimicry. And one of our colleague from Bharatidasan University, Dr. Santanam, so he has been working with mostly the copepods. So this is a concept that's tried to stimulate natural estuarine condition by creating zooplankton blooms, copepods, as a supplemental nutrition to the cultured shrimp and beneficial bacteria. This is all aquaponics, hydroponics, like RAS, biofloc, aqua silviculture. Somewhere it's all interlinked actually, but this is mostly specialized, right? So aqua mimicry is the most recent concept of in situ waste assimilation within the shrimp ponds, where the production of zooplankton, particular copepods, is stimulated by using carbohydrate source like fermented rice. So this is the same thing we are using for the biofloc also when we are conducted the experiment in case of monodal. So the water mimics the appearance and the composition of natural estuarine water that includes microalgae and the zooplankton, right? So they get a natural environment. And this is a homestead farming system. This is one of my projects when I was working in Kakadip Center. We had a combined project with the IMI and the ERI and the BFRI, then World Fish. So we could see that, like, we have done a lot of modeling, and this has been really very good for the very vulnerable groups, like, particularly the farmers close to the coastal areas actually. So in a particular system, you get horticulture, you get aquaculture, you get animal husbandry, and this is a very good trade-off actually. You give water, you get something. You give cattle, you give something actually. And in addition to that, one of the best system what we could see in the West Bengal 25% south, the betel vine. Because I didn't put it here, but a betel vine integration into the homestead farming system. So what happens actually, I'll give one example. If a farmer having a half-acre land, 5 people in the family, and spends around 20,000 rupees for all these activities, he can earn around profit of 60,000 in the span of 1 year, right? Apart from that, he can fulfill 60% of animal protein need from the fish grown in his own backyard. So this is the beauty of homestead farming system. If you want to access this report, you can look into World Food Program, WFP. So you can get this detailed information from this. And family farming, this is what, like, I told you the system, homestead farming system. I will give a case study of a family farming system. So this was done by our Krishi Vigyan Kendra in case of SIPA Bhubaneswar. So they could get around 3.52 lakhs per year from his around 1.32 acres of the pond. So he has integrated dogs into the pond, mango trees, and polyplants of pointed gourd, dairy, and other vegetables, right? So this is, it is easily possible to get maximize from your own backyard site. And the community aquaculture, what I talked about, like, how the community aquaculture can be successful. I think you might be in Odisha, we have a Mission Shakti program where the women self-help groups are empowered to do this. And we could see that, like, under that program, before this CIFA chemicals intervention, they have a production of a 2.1 ton per hectare from the community fund. But because of improved variety of seed and proper scientific management practices, proper health management practices, so they could get around 3.12 ton per hectare against 2.1. Almost they could get it almost close to 1 ton excess production actually. So this is like, where the community aquaculture, when you go for diversifying the things. The result is a 3D farming system actually. So what happened? This is more of a restorative farming system. 3D farms are designed to address three major challenges: increase offshore production to ensure food security, transform from the overfish to restorative farming, and lay the foundation of a new blue-green economy. Right? You can see the left side picture, like, the traps are there to fish the trap, and oyster cages are there, and you have scallop, you have a mussel, right? And then you even still you can. The point is, this is like, the concept is yet to come in India. So this is what, like, you can look into the detail from the Green Wave Organization website. So this is what 3D farming coming on that. And apart from the, like, species and system diversification, there is a need to go for resource diversification. You cannot only talk about breeding, seed and feed and culture. So you might be knowing, like, this coronavirus has taught us, like, what is the application of biotechnology or genetics or genomics. So this is a paper published by me and one of my colleague Kiran Rasal. I think you can see this. This is one of the best review paper on Rohu. So what is there? Genetics is required, genomics is required, epigenetics, environment and genetic relationship, metagenome is the role of microbes in the fish growth, transgenic genome editing. You might be knowing, like, how the gene editing is being used for the, like, cancer therapy, other Alzheimer's disease technology, and transcriptomics. The transcriptome is essential to look into the changes with the fish due to the climatic changes, temperature and other things. So this is what we need for the research diversification also. Research support for sustainable, eco-friendly and techno-economic viable hatchery and the culture system. What is to be done now, right? So what is required is strengthen research, including fish health management, because since the topic is not about the health, but at the end of the day, now health management, simple microbes is torturing us since 2019 November, COVID-19. So there is a need to look into the fish health management, and we need to increase the species from 72 in 1950. At least by this year we should go for 650. Already close to 400 species being farmed, but we need to increase those things. Increasing the supply of quality feed and seed. Unless you have a good quality feed and seed, forget about any aquaculture, which is brackies, marine, all hill fisheries or mariculture. Development of next generation multi-species hatcheries. Time has gone for single species hatcheries, right? There are some hatcheries, in Murshidabad, in West Bengal, they are breeding all variety of species actually, right? You need to look for multi-species hatchery, how you can effectively utilize your power and energy and manpower. Doubling of fish production for diversification of species. Already we have talked about diversification and new as entrepreneur development. Because unless entrepreneurship comes in, it's very difficult. Look into I think all you might be knowing about the number of mask company has come, number of ventilator companies has come, number of sanitizer companies has come because of COVID. So you need those type of entrepreneurship, those who can bring new things to aquaculture. And aquaculture technology for hill fisheries, because this is not my subject area, but there is a institute like DCFR is there. Kashmir also there are many. KUSAT is doing. So there is a need to focus on aquaculture technology for hill fisheries. Then eventually global food security, genomic approach and CRISPR-Cas9. So this is the two things in advanced biotechnology. You need to follow adapt genomics and CRISPR-Cas9. You might be knowing about the non-browning apple. Generally if you eat apple, you get a browning or you get a strain in the apple. So there is a technology has come by USA. So even the green apples are non-brown. No, you eat, you don't find the decomposition, it won't be there. Even aqua about the salmon, that is genetically modified salmon actually. So this is like, basically technology of that. Then optimization of water use and increase water productivity. Now you need to reduce the water uses. Already, like, the government has talked about to per drop more crop. Then integration of fish in country's nutrition program, midday meal scheme. I think all you might be knowing the Sankuthala Thilset. She has got the, like, the World Fruit Program Award because she has been working the nutrition sensitive aquaculture in Bangladesh, Cambodia, many countries. And science communication for enhanced information flow. See, unless this particular aspects is like, emphasize what is happening in Kashmir, I don't know. What is happening in Jabalpur, I don't know. What is happening in Chhattisgarh, I don't know. So what you need to do, the science communication has to go. You see how many biofloc YouTube videos are there. Because of that reason, might be biofloc is fully popularized now. Nobody talks about a rohu breeding, katla breeding. So you can easily visualize the impact of science communication. So only one more slide is there, and so this is a last slide for all of you. And so can anyone tell us what is common this and what are the contrast in this? This is last but one slide. Anybody? What is common and how they are different?
Cricket is common, and I think it's a test, then one day and T20.
Okay. So what is the moral of the story? Yeah, that is test. This is one day. This is T20. What is the moral of the story?
Sir, we have to think in a different way to popularize the aquaculture. Now
yeah, finally the question is, the time has come for the diversify. So this is because of T20, this is more popular. So unless you diversify, maybe we cannot reach to the last mile people. The point I was bringing a comparison of the cricket and aquaculture is, the test cricket means earlier cases of the composite fish culture. Now composite fish culture definition is no more. People are growing everything. Monodon is being cultured with the carp is being cultured with the vanam, right? So this is what innovation you need to bring into the aquaculture system. Once you bring innovation, then things under your control. Okay. So thank you. Grow fish, grow with fish. What is SIFA's mandate has been exploring the sustainable aquaculture development. Once again, thanking you for your patience hearing. Hopefully, I am on time, and now we can open for any questions, any discussion.
Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot. Now, if there are any questions or interaction we want to do, please start.
So can I stop sharing my slide?
Yeah, you can stop sharing.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Sundre sir. This is Dr. Rajesh Rathore speaking from College of Fisheries, Pantnagar, sir.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Please.
Good afternoon, sir. I have attended your classes in CAU, sir.
Okay.
You remember that training?
Yes.
First day, you are the chief guest of the training
program.
Yeah. I have met you once. You are really very fantastic, sir. Very dynamic, very interesting lecture. Very new words in the aquaculture you have given us, and really I have upgraded my knowledge through your lectures. Very wonderful, amazing, sir. Amazing.
Thank you.
Sir, I have one question, just not too much. In Pantnagar area, in the Uttarakhand, sir, the most popular species we are culturing only IMC. Nowadays, very much popular the Pangasius. So Pangasius, no doubt, very low value fish, and it is very high growth within the 6 months we are getting with the culture period. But sir, day by day, I am observing in the local area, sir, we are not getting growth of the rohu and katla, sir. What is exactly you are the very big scientist to look after this, sir. Like agriculture, sir, they are producing so many variety to like bottle gourd like this. वो सर उनका 2-1 महीने में इतना बड़ा सा लौकी हो जाता है. हमारा कितना बढ़ता नहीं है सर। ये बढ़ने के लिए क्या करना चाहिए सर? कुछ
देखिए,
आप एक अपना टिप्स बताइए सर, हम क्या करें फील्ड में?
tips is very simple. The question is, if in Uttarakhand area में अगर if the seed, main thing is seed quality. Not only in Uttarakhand, even either you have the same problem in case of Odisha and Bihar, or even because I have like gone to Bihar or many places actually. What happens actually? You have two different types of seed in the market. You don't differentiate what is good quality, what is bad quality seed, right? So when you get a poor quality seed, then you will have this type of problem. So only request is you should have a traceability. Ask the person who is supplying the seed to you, ask him to talk about the which hatchery he is bringing. From there you can make out whether this is hatchery bred seed or seed from other places. That is one thing. And coming back to the amount of investment has gone into agriculture, horticulture product, we don't have. But definitely, no, time has come. We need to replace the old varieties of old species with the new improved variety by which you have a better growth in the lesser time period. The bottom of the moral of the story is we need to have a good quality seed. Whoever supplies you, he has to supply good quality seed with a traceability. He should tell this is the what the size of the brooder. I have got the seed. Otherwise, it's very difficult to control this type of spurious seed in the Indian aquaculture scenario.
Okay, thank you so much, sir. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Any other question? If you have any
Hello.
Yeah, please ask.
Yeah, Sundaray sir, Sagar Mandal speaking.
Yeah, good afternoon, please.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for enlightening us about the different aspects of your species diversification and system diversification. Also enlightening us about the different activities that you have been
Please.
Hello?
doing in SIFA and previous to
Yeah.
SIFA also in Kagdiv. So many a time we are hearing about the small culture or culture aspects or breeding aspects of small indigenous species, because many places like northeast especially in Tripura, so small fishes like Emily Ferrington mola having quite high demand.
Yeah.
So what is your idea of propagating of this small indigenous species in the culture system?
See, if you look into, I'll go back to Sakuntala's experimentation in Bangladesh and Cambodia. So the point is, mola can be very well integrated in the polyculture system. The only drawback is, I think, except Tripura, nowhere the breeding activity is taken up. So any culture system is successful only if you have a good inflow of the quality seed. Take the example of Rohu, Katla, Mrigal, or even in case of Pangasis in Paku. Paku is not belongs to us, but the technology is fully developed. So the point is there is nothing wrong in, but already systems are there. We need to have a higher magnification of the insight into that, by which mola can be part of the polyculture system. Not only mola, I'll give one example. Loches. Loches in Tamil Nadu is high in demand actually. But question is, loches, the problem is loches you need to only harvest once you drain out the water. But there is a good scope of loches farming in case of Tamil Nadu also. Like what you're talking about, small indigenous fish species, either you need to have a more research has to go for developing a new system. Otherwise, you have to integrate small indigenous fish into your ongoing culture system, particularly the carps.
Okay, only issues is there with this small fish, no? Captive breeding, though actually they are auto breed in the natural systems. In the hatchery, they are small fish. Probably that in the composite system, the depth of water may not be as per with the Rohu, Katla or Mrigal.
Yeah. No, see, auto breeder means you cannot scale up. If you want to go for a large scale farming, we need to have the seed in your hand actually.
Okay,
sir. Good afternoon, sir. It's Vrindavan Sahu.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon.
what is the bottleneck for this? It is not pure mola. It is already SI, small indigenous species mixed together. What is the bottleneck that we are not able to produce like the quantity of seed age we desire?
See, I'll have two answers, one from management point of view, one from technical point of view. The point is, see, you have never created that platform or the system where people will go for small indigenous species. We have been talking a lot, but you don't have a constant effort to breed small indigenous species. Take the example of minor. We have been working on minor calves at least for the last 2 years. Now, minor calves is entering into the Odisha and some part of the Bengal. The point is, unless some entrepreneur comes in to produce the seed, then this won't take up. As a research institute, whether College of Fisheries, Agartala, or Odisha, or SIFA cannot supply the adequate seed. This is one thing. Second thing is, a farmer or a businessman or an entrepreneur, when you see there is no profit, he won't venture into that. I'll give one example of the sea bass hatcheries in India. So we have given 2-3 consultancy to the sea bass hatcheries. As of now, it is not coming up because they compare sea bass with Dhanami production. Because sea bass, you have to grow sea bass for 300 days, Dhanami you get a profit within 120 days. So this type of mindset is there. It's very difficult to, now people are realizing you need to set out this mindset at least, now see, now after Sagartala has got this award, everybody is, for last 2 days, there are more than 200 calls might have come to SIFA. We want to go for small indigenous fish farming system, right? So this is somewhere we need a explosion by which people and the farmer entrepreneur need to get into this. Bottleneck is one, like in what I talked to Sagar Mandal, one is technology. Second thing is some volunteer has to come to take up that activities. Otherwise, there is, see, fish breeding is not a difficult task. It can be.
Tripura people are doing.
But the question is, that is in a very small scale. That is the problem. See, once you want to commercialize technology, I will give the example. Why Paku is very famous?
It's like again putting every small one, injecting then. Can you do something like feeding and something like that? That kind of thing is to do.
See, even Dr. Rautanai at SIFA, he started breeding this mola in a cement system. But the question is, we are unable to complete the cycle. See, we can get 100, 200 numbers. So what happens, if you need in terms of lakhs, then you need a larger system. Then the research need to get into that. The major problem in mola, what is my understanding is the larval development stage, right? So unless you have those type of a feed and other things, it is very difficult to get for large scale actually.
Okay, sir. My second question is about Pangas.
Yeah.
Pangas is actually a wonderful fish in terms of growth rate.
Yeah.
It can really change the scenario of fish production. But the fat that gets in, that comes is that is one major concern. Second is somehow we are not able to come up with processing, that filleting and all this. Because there is all our chain of hotels, they import Pangas from Southeast Asian countries.
Yeah.
But we can produce here huge quantity of Pangas, but we are not able to process it adequately.
See, again, two issues. We have been trying to get the good quality brooder from Vietnam, from Indo-Vietnam Joint Working Group for the last 6 to 7 years. It's not materializing. That is number one. See, why the Pangas grown in the Vietnam system? Because they have a larger water exchange system from the Mekong Delta, which we don't do. Our is mostly closed pond system. And our
even if we do in case culture, we can think of water exchange is done there, naturally.
No, I am coming to the point is, we are not getting that brooder which can give a good quality fillet. This has been discussed in a many larger forum actually. The major problem what the Andhra Pradesh farmer, though even Chhattisgarh, that MM fisheries, he has been talking that, sir, we don't have that brooder which have a quality to give a good quality fillet. That is the problem. Whatever we are growing from the Pangas being grown in the Bangladesh actually. So we don't have that.
Fillet quality is very different, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
That's a different stream. Vietnam, they have a different stream.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, thank you then.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Here I am Dr. Sampa from Tripura.
Yeah.
Sir, actually, I want to ask one question. As we all know that we have very less variety of very improved variety of fish species like Janti Rohu from Sipa and your improved variety of you told that Katla and all. Sir, what I want to ask that actually I was even working as a fishery officer before. So in that time, I have not seen any Jayanti Rohu sheets which is not very popular or in the Tripura. In college, it was there, but in if as a whole in a state it is not there, so why it is not being popularized, maybe, or what may be the how we can popularize, because it is a high growth and many a time we see that Rohu when we are stocking it is almost same, it is very low growth with in the composite fish farming. So what can we do to procure the Janti Rohu, and what may be the lacuna for the popularization of that particular species, that particular strain?
Yeah, I cannot comment on Tripura, but see, because I was nodal for Meghalaya, but what I can tell you actually, see, we have a 2 multiplier center in Assam.
Okay.
One is Jyotish Talukdar, another is Tata Amalgamated. So they have been producing Jayanti Rohu for the last 8 years. And if you go to Assam, any places, Jyotish Talukdar and Assam, this Tata Amalgamated Limited, they have been nodal person for the nodal team for the Jayanti Rohu propagation in case of northeastern region. We have been supplying seed to Manipur, we have been supplying seed to Meghalaya, and of course Assam is there. Tripura, as you told, we have a smaller presence. Might be the question is, some entrepreneurs, those are growing fish, so either they are not aware about Jayanti Rohu, even though they are aware, they might have finding difficulties to get the seed. But if you can send a simple mail to us, I can connect you to the 2 multiplier unit in Assam. Those are ready to supply the seed. Even we have supplied the seed in the Sonazul in the Arunachal Pradesh also. Because the last March we are there. But coming back to popularization, NFDB has taken a big step to include the farmers, those who want to be Jayanti grower, Jayanti multiplier. So if you look into NFDB website, already still applications are there. And I don't think so. It might be a very specific problem. But as far as now, if you look into Indian aquaculture system, Jayanti's presence is around 18% across India.
Yeah, yeah.
So no, I'm not about genetic. Again, 18% of genetic presence across many. If you look into the total Rohu production, 18% is market occupied by the Jayanti. So might be a specific issue. So if you don't mind, if you can put a mail to me, then I can connect you to both the multiplier in Assam.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
That's right.
Thank you, sir. I think we are gone past our allotted slot of time.
Okay.
On behalf of the participants and on behalf of the organizing committee, I would want to extend our heartfelt gratitude to you, sir, for thanks for being with us. It was such a lovely presentation. Everybody's comments reflected that. Also, the interaction with the participants was amazing. Thank you, sir. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you all of you.
Thank you, everyone that joined back at tomorrow 11 a.m. Thank you.